different areas of functionality, the modules we offer at a high level, and then we'll go into the system itself. So I like to start on the employee side, highlighting the employee perspective, and then we'll go to the administrative side of our system, and we take a look at the advanced configuration options as well as the reporting. So let's go ahead and get started. In terms of a system overview, InfinityHR is a secure web-based HR management system that centralizes all of your HR and benefits data into a single system. So whether it is benefits management, applicant tracking, or time and attendance, InfinityHR supports consistency and accuracy in all of your core HR functions. Now you'll hear me refer to the term modules throughout the demonstration, and that's really those blue tabs across the top of the screen. Those represent the different modules that we offer, and I'd like to give you some highlights of what each module can accomplish in our system. Shown there on the right is a view of our recruiting portal as part of the applicant tracking system. InfinityHR allows you to link from your existing company website to this recruiting portal. Job openings can be created and managed directly within the system, and interested job seekers are able to log in, access their profile, and continue their job search. Once they enter into an actual application, applicants are guided by a series of completely customizable workflows. The system allows for the creation of customized steps to support the onboarding process for your new hires. So if your company already has onboarding procedures in place, we can automate that process with our workflows to ensure that onboarding is standardized and completed within its timely fashion. The page your employees will see when they log into the system is what we refer to as the employee portal. The employee portal is a web-based self-service portal that allows employees access to all of their relevant benefits and HR information. Activities such as completing a performance review, requesting time off, or participating in an enrollment event can all be completed through this portal. When it is time for your employees to enroll in benefits, our system serves as a tool to compare and analyze plan costs prior to making any elections. We have the ability to send elections directly to third-party carriers, and we can also funnel certain qualified life events through an administrator if you'd like to add an approver to the process. We are a rule-based engine, so we can attach benefit eligibility rules at various places in a benefits package, and employees can log into our system at any point in time to see a consolidated benefit statement. Employees can log into InfinityHR to view time-off balances as well as submit electronic time-off requests. Managers log into the same system to either approve or deny the request, as well as view historical time-off requests for their team. The data can be graphically represented or exported for reporting purposes. The time and attendance function in Infinity allows employees to clock in or out through the employee portal while allowing managers to approve or deny time cards in their own manager section of the system. Time entry can be tracked through a punch in the employee portal or integrate with a physical time clock. The workflow feature of our system allows you to automate key processes and ensure consistency and completion. Essentially, in a workflow, key processes are broken down into steps, assigned to resources, and designated an estimated completion time. A great feature of our system is that an email notification will be sent to a resource when it is their turn to complete a particular step, and this then allows you to generate reporting on outstanding workflows. Performance management allows you to control the position titles in your company, conduct performance reviews, and track completion rates of mandatory training and certification programs. InfinityHR allows for the creation of customizable employee surveys. There is a survey library that comes preloaded with templates that you are free to tailor to fit your specific needs. Real-time reporting on survey completion is available, and question results can be transformed into reports and graphical representations. The system allows for the tracking against any wellness campaigns deployed in your company. Once wellness tracking is enabled, employees can log into their same employee portal to be able to track progress towards either a corporate or personal metric. Once data is entered into the system, dashboard views generate for not only the employee, but also the administrator, so we can track our progress throughout the duration of the wellness campaign. And last is our advanced reporting module. We break this down into two sections. In terms of standard reporting, the system comes pre-built with hundreds of one-click reports where you can click your mouse once to export data into either PDF or Excel format. Our ad hoc exporting tool is how we are able to automate data exports to third-party carriers. This is where we could build out files to go to benefit carriers, to a payroll solution. We're also able to use this tool to write customized reports that you may need. All of the data fields in our system can be used in reports, and we can export data in a multitude of different formats. Probably the strongest feature of this tool is the ability to schedule these reports to run automatically. With that being said, that is the overview of our system. I'm going to get logged in now to the employee portal, and we'll highlight the employee self-service experience. Each employee will receive a unique login to be able to log into the InfinityHR system, and this is the page that they will see when they do so. So it is the employee portal. You'll also hear it referred to as the employee homepage because this is that one-stop self-service environment for your employees. Customization options are available at the top, adding a logo, an image, any portal text. This allows you to align with your company website. We could provide a mission statement here, corporate values, or maybe just recent company successes. I'm going to touch on some of the outside sections of the portal first to give us some navigational points, and then I'll jump into the core modules themselves. But this is employee specific, so we can see that I'm logged in as a sample employee, Rachel Brady. Other than the employee info section, all of these sections here that are headed with these bolded font arrows are sections of our system that can be turned off, on or off, with just a simple checkbox. But quick links here, these are links of information that we want our employees to be able to easily access. I'll highlight a few of them. Language preferences. If you have Spanish-speaking employees, I could save my preferences into Spanish, and the core modules on this page will translate for me. As an employee, I could come here to view my current coverages. I can view the employee directory. We can load in paycheck stubs, so I could access PDF images of my paycheck stubs, my direct deposit accounts, tax information. The last link is particularly useful, and we call it Learn About Your Benefits. An employee would come to this section to do some research on plan options prior to participating in an enrollment event. So what I'm seeing here is a breakdown of benefits available within this benefits package in the top left corner. I can click on any individual benefit, so I've clicked onto the medical, and that's why I'm able to see specific text configured here on this medical provider. Beneath that, with these yellow highlighted, or these yellow rows and tables, we see the different plan options available as part of this medical benefit. An initial glance allows me to see monthly rates per coverage level, but if I wanted to do a more detailed comparison, I can choose the plans of interest, click Compare Selected Plans, and the system generates this detailed benefit summary for me. The first column represents benefits that I'm doing in this comparison, and then moving from left to right, I'm able to see the plans that I chose to compare, as well as a side-by-side view of in-network versus out-of-network costs. You may have this in paper format today. This is another area that we can help you go paperless and build this into the account for you. And again, you can have an unlimited amount of information in this first benefits column. Common examples we see here would be calendar year deductibles, max out-of-pocket amounts, office services, inpatient, outpatient services. But a very useful tool for employees to have access to prior to going through an enrollment event. Back on that home page, any of those customizable employee surveys that you create, you have full control to choose the employees that you are asking to participate in the survey. Employees that are chosen to do the survey, this is where they will come to access the survey. So I can provide any answers to these questions directly within the system, and once I save, answer all of the questions, and click Submit, you're then able to gather reporting on results from the administrative side of our system. I'll also add that we can do fully anonymous employee surveys, and we can use our survey tool to do scored assessments. So we're seeing a lot of our clients now are utilizing this survey assessment piece in conjunction with training recertification programs. A few more sections on the bottom before we go into the core modules. The first one is the wellness section. This is where an employee can come to enter their progress towards that either corporate or personal metric. They're greeted by a dashboard view. They could filter by a campaign, by a particular metric, and this allows them to see their progress throughout that campaign. And this is where they're able to enter in any specific data. Above the wellness section, we have links or documents, 2 additional sections here that you can promote that self-service environment for your employees. I like to think of this as a great way to give employees access to information so that they can start to answer their own HR, benefits, maybe even payroll-related questions. So you can address questions here such as, where can I learn about my HSA plan? Where can I view our company handbook? Where can I view the pay schedule? You can add an unlimited amount of links or documents in these sections. All right, next we're going to take a look at this workflow section. So I like to assume for this part of the demonstration that our employee Rachel, this is day 1 of employment for her. Rather than give her a day 1 stack of paperwork to complete, we've automated that onboarding process into our system, and we'll demonstrate that functionality. What we're looking at now is the workflow screen. You can see workflow instructions at the top. On the left is the breakdown of steps included in this workflow for the onboarding process. You can have an unlimited amount of steps here. We have a few examples going from either signing or loading a signed offer letter, acknowledging the employee handbook, setting up direct deposit accounts, my tax preferences, and then filling out and signing any of that day 1 paperwork. We have options for document management. The first one is that you can allow an employee to load a document through a workflow step. The benefit of doing that is that any document they load is immediately saved under their employee record on the administrative side of our system. We also have an integration to address the tracking of electronic signatures, and I'll show that on step 2. This is an integration we have built with Adobe EchoSign, again, to be able to track electronic signatures. So any of your documents that you want signed but you want to keep that paperless environment, we can attach this integration to. So for this sample employee, Rachel, to acknowledge the policies and procedures in the handbook, she could come here to type her name. She could draw her signature if that was her preference. But when I click to sign, the system is now saving a copy of this electronically signed document permanently against her employee file. The employee would be able to complete the rest of these steps by saving and continuing on the bottom until they are fully onboarded. As an administrator of the system, you're able to pull reporting on any pending workflow steps. You can start to look at your new hires, which step of the process they're in. And then when I get to workflows configuration on the administrative side, I'll talk to some of the advanced options you can do within each of these steps. I will go back to the home page now just to highlight another area of functionality that we do track % complete on workflows. This allows you as an administrator to be able to gather some basic efficiency metrics around your key processes. If we assume now that Rachel's been onboarded, the next phase in her employee life cycle is the ability to enroll in benefits. All change events in our section are located under this change event section. We have 30 to 40 different change events or qualifying life events that employees can complete through our system. I have a few popular ones listed here. Anything from an open enrollment to 401k change, a new hire event, birth, adoption, divorce, marriage. And each of these events can be configured differently from the other events. I can require different process steps for a marriage event than I can an address change. I can choose if I would like any of these events to be approved by a system administrator, and I can choose the supporting documentation that's required for each event. Let's say I'd like to verify a birth certificate prior to adding a dependent onto an employee's benefits. We'll take a look at open enrollment today. I can click Begin Event, and I will move into the enrollment screen for Rachel Brady, our sample employee. The process steps that I mentioned you can configure. Those are these tabs across the top here. The employee, all they need to do is to verify that the information on the screen is accurate or provide their benefit elections, and they'll save and continue working their way through each of the steps in this process. My dependents on file are listed here for me, but I could add a dependent, edit, or delete. We then move on to the Benefits tab. I see a similar listing of the benefit breakdown in the top left corner. I want to reemphasize that as we are a rule-based engine, our system will only allow your employees to enroll in benefits that they are eligible for. We can attach eligibility rules at either a package, benefit, or plan level. So a common example I like to give there is, let's say you have multiple employee locations and your employees residing and working in California are offered different benefits than those working in Arizona. We can attach an eligibility rule at the package level, which would tell our system to reference the location on file for each of your employees, and it would adjust the benefits in this enrollment screen accordingly. Pay period cost totals will update for me as I'm making my elections. We see that custom enrollment screen text here, so I could link to a plan document. I could link to the carrier website. I can also load any benefit training videos. The system does come pre-built with videos that you're free to use here, but you could also attach any internal benefit training videos that you already utilize. The tables with the yellow headers represent the plan options that we did the comparison for. Coverage levels are similar to benefit eligibility rules in the sense that your employee would only see coverage levels here that match up with their dependent relationships on file. So single employees with no additional dependent relationships would only see employee-only coverage or possibly waive if that was applicable. We see a per-pay premium, per-pay employer cost, and per-pay employee cost. This three-column setup is useful if you have a strong contribution strategy you want to educate your employees on. That's not the case. We can make any one of these columns disappear as well by unchecking a box on the administrative side. My dependents are listed for me on the bottom. It's as easy as checking a box to include a benefit dependent to be covered. Otherwise, all the employee needs to do is to select their coverage level of choice, and they will save and continue doing this through each of the benefits available in this benefits package. I have a few sample benefits built in here, a dental, a vision policy, but it should be noted that we currently gather enrollment data and send files with over 300 different carriers on our system. We handle a wide variety of benefits from compensation-based policies to age-banded policies. You can adjust all premiums, as we're seeing here, to represent 100% employer-funded benefits. On this voluntary employee life is an example of how our system can reinforce evidence of insurability rules. So in this scenario, if I were to elect $60,000, the system's telling me that I'm electing a coverage level above the guaranteed issue amount. I have a visual cue that an EOI form is required, and we can attach that form within this enrollment screen for the employee to be able to download and complete. So I'll work my way through my FSA. Now, I mentioned we have benefits with over 300 different carriers. I also want to add that there are certain carriers in that group of 300 plus where we've built out additional integrations on our enrollment screens. One of those is an example I'm showing here with AFLAC. So this particular benefit is an underwriting-based policy that requires these questions here to be answered at the time of enrollment. So we can embed these directly within the screen. There's no need for the user to have to toggle to another window to be able to answer these. And if I were to answer in a way that disqualified me from coverage, the system would let me know. We have similar integrations in our enrollment screens with groups such as Unum, Colonial, PerkSpot, Trustmark, Humana, and Allstate. Again, those aren't the only carriers we work with. We work with 300 plus. Those are just some of the different enrollment screen integrations that we've built into our system. 401k, and now I will move on to my beneficiaries tab. My dependents will copy over for me onto this tab, but from here I could add a beneficiary, add a trust, adjust a percentage assignment. You have a preference to choose if you'd like to gather emergency contacts from your employees as well as how many they need to retain on file. And now I will be asked to review my elected coverages, my beneficiary assignments, emergency contacts. Up top in red is additional verbiage, a reminder around that evidence of insurability that's required. But I'll save and continue, and then we'll move on to the confirmation tab where the employee is able to print a confirmation statement showing that this event has been recorded. Related to additional benefit statements, there is a section on the home page devoted to benefit statements. So if you had tenured employees that have enrolled in benefits in the system previously, or we've loaded that benefit data into the system, they could access a benefit statement based on a date range. That top document that we see, the total compensation statement, this is a very widely used popular document in our system, so I'd like to show what it can do. Once you have compensation rates and benefits for each of your employees, this document will automatically generate, and you have the preference to choose if you'd like it made available to your employees. So it paints a total compensation picture for each of your employees. So we can see this is specific to Rachel. It starts off with her compensation amount. We then see annualized breakdowns of taxes between the employee and employer. In the benefits section, I see per benefit plan and coverage level, annualized employee and employer contributions. Under additional benefits, I can key in any other fringe benefits the employee is receiving. Two examples here being a tuition reimbursement, travel stipend. Page 2 shows me my benefit cost breakdown, my total rewards breakdown, and then on the bottom in gray is my summary statement, which gives the employee the total estimated worth of all of the benefits that they are receiving. So again, this is a popular document. Some of our clients will like to print this out and distribute it to their employees periodically throughout the year. Others choose not to utilize it. It's up to your preference to turn it on or off in the system. Now that Rachel has been onboarded through our system, she has enrolled in benefits through our system, the next phase of her employee life cycle is to be able to manage time. So right now, Rachel is set up to be able to log time through a time clock entry as a web punch. So we can see here she has these different buttons to be able to clock in or out. The system will track those punches for her beneath in the table. You have configurable options on do you want break-in or lunch options to be shown. It should be noted also that you can configure entry assignments, so how each of your employees are logging their time at an employee level. So it's perfectly acceptable to have hourly employees that are punching in through this web portal while having salaried employees submit timesheets to you. We can also allocate labor towards an unlimited amount of projects or cost centers. And if it was a time clock entry where they're logging hours towards a cost center project, the employee would be able to select that from a drop-down here on their home page. Rachel is set up as a manager. That's why we have this manager link section. This disappears for non-managerial employees. So for a non-managerial employee to be able to view or manage their time, they can come to this link. As Rachel is set up on a time clock card, she can go to the time clock card tab to see for each pay range in this calendar year all of her relevant hour totals. There are options on whether or not we would like a pay amount to be viewable here. The system will timestamp the submitted and approved dates. Otherwise, to be able to reference historical time data or to submit an actual time clock card, you can click on the pay range of interest. This allows me to see my daily ins and out punches as well as those hour totals. And then if I walk through these tabs, I could add a comment to my time clock card. I would see system-generated emails. I could print out my time clock card, provide an additional message that will be included in the email notification to the manager, and I can submit my time card directly into the system for approval. Right beneath that is where an employee could come to request time off. So this time off summary shows me per leave type, what of the units I've accrued, requested, granted, taken, as well as my remaining balance. Leave types are configurable, so we could match those to your company policies. We could see jury duty as a leave type here. We could just see paid time off. To submit an actual time off request, the employee can come to the third tab here. They can choose the date and interest. Add it below, the leave type to apply it towards, how many units to select, as well as providing a comment prior to submitting this request to their manager. Now, if you notice, when I tried to click on the 31st, the system actually did not allow me to select that date. That's because we have a functionality in the system where we can keep track of holidays and blackout dates where you don't want your employees to have the ability to submit a time off request. So as you notice, the system would deny a time off request on any of the dates listed on this tab. Now under the manager link section, there are manager views for those same two functions. So for a manager to be able to manage the time of their team, they come into this section. They're greeted by this dashboard view, which allows them to see for their time reports in the system, the number of total time cards, percent submitted versus percent approved, hour totals. This is a real-time dashboard of alerts, so I'd be able to see my employees that are clocked in, employees that are clocked out, employees scheduled to be off today or tomorrow. It will even notify me when I have employees approaching our overtime threshold. To approve or deny time clock cards or timesheets, there are separate tabs for those. There are filter options at the top, so I could go back and reference a previous pay period and filter my results. Now I'm looking at employees that are set up to submit timesheets to me. I can see right away, John has already been approved. Now let's say Kaylin, the top report there, I see she has 24 hours. If those hours were accurate to me, I could just mark them as approved from here. I could deny her timesheet, or I could email her if there was a discrepancy. If I wanted to see how she's actually allocating her hours, I can click on her name to be able to go into that actual timesheet. So I mentioned that you can allocate labor hours towards an unlimited amount of projects or cost centers. We can do 5 levels of cost centers, and then under each level you can do an unlimited amount of options. So when I reference level, I'm actually showing 3 levels on this example where we're looking at location, department, and then client. Under each of these drop-downs, you could have an unlimited amount of options. So the employee is able to choose the specific cost center structure to allocate time towards, add it to their timesheet, and they can save their hours. Now, we are viewing this through the manager perspective, but this is the same exact view that an employee would have for a timesheet. Back on the home page, a manager can come here to review time off requests. So again, email notifications are sent when a time clock card timesheet is submitted, as well as a time off request, but they do update in real time for your managers that are active in the home page. So I see Susie, there are 3 pending requests for her. I do know that she has sufficient balance to cover this request, so I could just check all, approve the request right from here, or deny if that were not the case. But let's say I want to look at my team calendar prior to making a decision on Susie. I can come to this 3rd tab, filter by either a weekly or monthly view, and the system's going to tell me for each of my time reports, pending time off requests in red, time off I've already approved in green, holidays in yellow, and any blackout dates in gray. Now that Rachel has been logging her time in the system, the last phase that we can address from our home page is the ability to manage performance. Under this Performance Management Center, an employee could come here to view information about their positions, goals, and performance reviews. On this Performance Summary tab, I'm able to filter by any review dates that have been completed against my file. But this screen allows me to look at scoring summaries. So for each of the items in our performance review form, how am I scoring against the company average? How am I scoring against other employees that are in my same position? The bottom section is a similar scoring breakdown, only this time, how did I perform towards the competencies that the company measures? Again, any of these tabs can be turned on or off according to your preference, but we could show position duties and responsibilities. You can show the performance goals associated with the position of an employee. You can allow your employees to submit personal goals. Perhaps you want them to submit a goal that aligns with a corporate objective. This would be the appropriate section to do that. And then on the Reviews tab is where the employee can come to access those historical performance reviews. I could click in here to come in the review form. I'm actually going to walk us through review forms from the administrative side so that we can look at the different configuration options available. So that will conclude our demonstration of the employee side. At this point, I'm going to switch over to the administrative side of the system. While I'm doing that, I'll take a look at the question log to see if any questions have come through. And they have not, so let's just continue on with the demonstration. I have now logged into the administrative side of our system, and you can have an unlimited amount of administrators, and I'll show in a few minutes how you can limit the sections of the system in which those administrators can access. This is the home page that we are seeing for the administrator. I like this first system summary here. There's no need in our system to go back and reference for each of your new hires, hire dates versus benefit versus your waiting period rules and decide which employees have become eligible for benefits. Our system does that for you. I have 18 new hires that are eligible. I can click on the 18 to see a listing of those names. I could adjust their benefit eligibility date. I could adjust the open and end dates of the enrollment window. Essentially from here I can check all 18 new hires and process the employees so that they can be able to enroll in benefits. The next tab over on the home page are different alerts. The system scans automatically and will alert your administrator of certain events or statuses that probably require administrative action. I have a few examples listed here. So we have 14 employees that do not have compensation records on file. 2 of our employees are locked out of their account. I have an employee that has a dependent about to become overage for a plan. The last 2 are telling me that we have employees eligible for additional benefits beyond what they're currently enrolled in. If I want to know who is the employee that has a dependent about to become overage, I can click on the record count to know that it's Rachel Brady. And if I had a larger listing of employees, I could click on the icon to export their names directly to Microsoft Excel. The next tab over is our ACA dashboard. The requirements to use this dashboard are that you have employees and time records in the system. What you can do is filter by a measurement period, and our system will calculate the average hours worked for your employees during that look-back period. If that total exceeds 30 hours per week or 130 hours per month, they would populate in this full-time equivalent status. So it's telling me I had 6 that exceeded that threshold. You have a graphical view on the right. You can adjust your measurement period settings, so the look-back months, the stability period in which coverage needs to be offered. You can provide an administrative period before the stability period, perhaps for an open enrollment event. You do have this graphical view, as I mentioned, but if you need to gather specific reporting, there is a second tab here dedicated to that. Now, in the overview, I mentioned standard one-click reporting. This is the first view we have of that in our system. All of these reports come pre-built, and I can click once to export data into either PDF or Excel format. The top report is in report format of the graphical view, so my employee statuses during the measurement period. The second report listed is going to tell me employees that are not in full-time employee status in our system, but how during the measurement period they exceeded that 30-hour per week threshold and need to be offered coverage. And the last 2 reports are meant to give the data needed to provide to submit the IRS 6055 and 6056 reports, which prove months of coverage at an employee level as well as coverage affordability. So this is our phase 1 of our ACA dashboard. We're very excited to be releasing a 2.0 of our ACA dashboard in Q2 of this year. So I'd like to just give you some highlights of the additional functionality that you will eventually be in here. We will have the ability to do print to mail as well as electronic filing for Forms 1094 and 1095C. We'll be able to track full ACA status history during an employee's tenure with the company. Our activity log will track ACA-related actions. We'll have support for variable hour employees as well as breaks in service, rule of parity, and we will be able to do a monthly measurement method. So what you're seeing on the screen today is live on our account and ready to be utilized, but we're very excited about the enhancements to come to the system as well. Next tab over are all workflows in which this administrator has been assigned as a resource. So in this example, the administrator is also a manager and needs to review Bob Jones's submitted expense report. Once I reviewed it, I could just check here and click complete, and this would trigger the system to generate the email notification to the next resource in line. I could also click on the workflow instance to be able to see the breakdown of those process steps, the assigned resources, the start and end dates, and I can look at actual durations compared to targeted durations. Next tab over, any of those qualifying life events that you wanted an administrator to approve, maybe we wanted to look at that EOI form, a marriage certificate, a birth certificate, they would be waiting for your administrator to come here and either approve or deny the event. All right, we're going to look now at the main navigational toolbar of our system. That's this dark gray toolbar at the top. One quick note is when I'm under this employee dropdown, this is where I can view or make changes at an employee level, whereas the remainder of the dropdowns here allow me to view or make changes at a company level. So we'll start on just this employee profile. What this does is this profile gives me a great view of employee and demographic information, a history of the positions the employees held, their salary compensation rates, performance review scores, time off accruals similar to what the employee saw from their employee side, as well as their current benefit enrollment information. Now I have search options to locate other employees by a combination of letters in the first name, last name, and employee status, social security number. A star search gives me a complete employee listing. I could provide an unlimited amount of notes against an employee file, commonly used here for disciplinary actions, maybe coaching notes, where we can also attach a document. But now that I'm selected on Rachel's employee file, any of the sections I navigate to under this employee dropdown will pull up her information. So her general employee data. The document section here is where any documents she loads in a workflow are saved, as well as any of her electronically signed documents. We could track assets, so if we gave her a company phone and laptop, I could track those here. I could also come to be able to submit a workers' comp incident or an injury incident so that we can generate a OSHA Form 300 report. Her benefits data is listed for me here. This is where I could come to terminate, reinstate, rehire, delete any of her benefits, perhaps just check her benefit eligibility. Also, as an administrator, I would come here to make any mid-year changes. Rachel had a baby and we're adding a dependent. This is the appropriate section. From here, I could send her into a COBRA log, which we can automate terminated employees to go to a COBRA administrator. I could also come here just to send her a copy of her benefit statement. Elsewhere under benefits is where you would view her beneficiary, assignments, dependents, beneficiaries, all benefit-related information. Her payroll data is housed here, compensation and effective dates, PDF images of her recent paycheck stubs, direct deposit, and tax preferences. All of her HR data is housed in this section, so we could update or view her skills that she has, the surveys we've asked her to complete in. I particularly like having access to time and attendance or time off records. Let's say the scenario where Rachel is out sick and for whatever reason she doesn't have access to a mobile device to submit a time off request. As an administrator, I could come here and submit that sick leave request on her behalf. Any employee that is hired in our system through the recruiting portal, their employee and recruiting data is automatically converted over to the employee file. I could go back and reference that for any of those employees. Under performance management, I would see the positions that she's held, the training items that we're tracking for her. We can track achievement and expiration dates. And I'll show a little bit when I get to our training section on how we can do renewal workflows for training items, as well as her review scores. The last feature we'll see under this dropdown is that as an administrator, I have the ability to view any individual employee's employee homepage. So let's say it's a situation where Rachel called me, the administrator, and said, I know I'm supposed to go through open enrollment next week. You know, I'm new to benefits. I find it confusing. Is there anyone that can help me? I could come here to view Rachel's employee homepage. She could come and sit down in my office. We can navigate to this open enrollment event, and we could go through open enrollment together looking at the same screen. Next, I'm going to look at reports. These are all pre-built standard reporting that comes with our system, organized into different categories. So we'll look at some of the general employee one-click reports. I have a filter option based on a date range. And for all of the reports here, one click for PDF, one click for Excel format. So I could look at a detailed listing of employees hired by month, detailed listing of employees eligible for benefits by month. I can do attrition tracking with termination summaries. Maybe it's a new recognition program and we're starting to acknowledge employee birth dates and hire date anniversaries, all pre-built within our system. There is pre-built reporting around event status summaries. So this is a very useful section as an administrator where, let's say, open enrollment is closing on Friday and I want to see how we're doing towards completing open enrollment. I can refresh the results and the system is going to show me that we have 5 employees that have started open enrollment but not completed it, 2 that have completed open enrollment, and 11 that have not even started. I could click on the 11 that have not started to adjust the dates of the enrollment window. I could export their names, or I could send all 11 an email saying, please hurry up, open enrollment closes on Friday. Additional pre-built reporting related to benefit management. In this case, my filter option is by a benefits package, but I could come here to pull company annual benefit premiums, company monthly benefit premiums, age-banded benefits with annual or monthly costs, benefit eligibility rules, overage dependents, additional reporting related to enrollment rosters, and the ability to send out bulk benefit statements, all pre-built in the system. We'll move over to the settings dropdown. This is really where we can configure our advanced options for each of the modules as well as gather module-specific reporting. So the first two, the links or documents that appeared on the employee homepage, are managed here. You can create different categories and choose whether or not you want them to be displayed on the login screen. Under applicant tracking is where you can create and manage your job postings. So this is showing me right now that we have 2 current open postings in this company. I'm able to see the location, the high-level requisition details. It lets me know that we have 2 applicants per posting, so if I want to focus on the business analyst position, I can click on those applicants. I have a good view here for each applicant of the process step they're in, the application status. If I had declined one already, I would see that reason here. The applicant source, it's also telling me how many of the skills do they possess that we based out of these skills that we requested in the posting. If I wanted to, I can go another level further and click on Joseph, the applicant, to perform some very specific actions, such as reviewing his application. I could rate him on a star scale. I could view his application history, send a survey for him to complete. I could decline him, electronically schedule an interview, hire the applicant. I can also send him to an employment screening. We've built out an additional integration with a group called Oracle. What this allows us to do is to be able to click here on Request Employment Screening. You'll notice that these fields pre-populate with all of the information required. And when I click Submit, this applicant information will be sent directly to our partners at Oracle to be able to manage an employment screening process. And this could be anything from full background checks to drug screening to general employment screening. Oracle manages that employment screening process, and when it's been completed, we have the ability to click on the completed employment screening results directly from our system. There are advanced options where I could do things such as configuring my email templates that go out to applicants for different reasons, set up any EEO reporting questions that we want to gather from applicants. Are there additional questions that we want to ask at a global on every application level or on posting specific? And I'll show you an example here of what some of our module-specific pre-built reporting looks like. These are all reports that come with the system specific to applicant tracking. So I could come here to look at job postings by month. We could look at average days to fill. Maybe we're having trouble filling a particular position and I want to get decline reasons. Lastly, on the bottom is a very useful report which will pull EEO reporting data for every applicant in your system. Next, under benefits management, is where your implementation team is going to build out your benefits package. So this is where we're going to get all of the carriers you work with, your waiting period rules, benefit eligibility rules, plan names, premiums. We build that into the system here so that your employees can accurately enroll in benefits and you can track benefit records. We'll look at performance management here, and I'm going to highlight under training. We talked about that previously. So let's say this Six Sigma white belt training item, I can provide all of the property information here, but let's say this is one that needs to be renewed. So this could be a CPR certification, this could be food safety, whatever specific training item your company requires to be renewed. I can come here and I can tell our system 90 days prior to every employee's expiration date for this training item, I would like the following workflow to be initiated. This workflow would send the employee an email reminder, it would pre-fill on their employee homepage, and would walk them through the steps to become recertified. Also under performance management, I can create all of our position titles. I can also associate here skills that we want the employee to have when they hold this position, as well as performance goals and training items for them to complete. I said I was going to walk us through the different review forms, and that's in this section. So the administrator could search by dates, positions, or managers to pull up review scores. On this review form button is where you can create your actual review forms in our system. You can have an unlimited amount here, and I can choose the review type. So who are the resources we want involved? Is it the employee doing a self-review, the employee and the manager, the employee, manager, and manager's manager? Excuse me. I can choose our scoring labels. In this example, I'm going from a scale of strongly agree to strongly disagree. We can choose the competency categories as well as the weights in which they will calculate towards the score. And if the employee hovers over the categories, they're able to see the specific category and its weight. I can do the core competencies then that fall under each category and whether or not I want comments allowed. I can choose the weights of the specific sections. So in this case, we're measuring them towards competencies, position goals, and personal goals. But if training was very important in our organization, I could allocate 10% in this section. I can also schedule the frequency for performance reviews to be completed to different employee groups. I can attach an eligibility rule. So we could say executives will go through performance reviews once a year, non-executives will do quarterly. I can define that specific frequency. I can again also attach a workflow. So while employees may be using different review forms at different frequencies, they're all going to get the same performance review experience because we've defined that process. Skills tracking is where we build out the skill categories and specific skills that we're tracking for not only applicants but our current employee base. So if there's a business need that comes up and we need to quickly identify who are our advanced Excel users, I could search my employee base. Surveys are created in this section, and this is where you can gather all of the survey reports. We'll take a look at time and attendance. This is a similar view to what the manager saw, only the administrator is now looking at a company level. So I'm able to see all of the totals for our different managers, the number of time cards, percent submitted, percent approved, these dashboard alerts at a company level. But again, the administrator could come in here, filter by any relevant pay period, and be able to approve or deny time records for any individual employee. Also under settings is where we would come to choose those entry assignments for every employee, set up pay groups, shifts, pay rates, scheduling, project management, project or cost center assignments, all from this section. Time off tracking is where we can configure your accrual rules that I said we would match up to your company policies. So again, I can do an eligibility rule. We could say executives will accrue at 8 hours per pay period, non-executives at 6 per pay period. Our system can reference date of hires. We might say employees with 0 to 3 years tenure accrue at a lower rate than 3 years and beyond. We build these into the system for you so that accruals are accurately calculated. Wellness campaign is created and managed in this section, also where the administrator can get the company view of progress in the dashboard. And the last setting is the workflow management. So you've noticed that you can attach workflows in different sections of our system. So we can kick off a workflow anytime we receive an application, when a time off request is approved, with a training renewal. In this section, you're building out the actual workflow steps. So they will all sit here for you in a library. You're able to see those that are in process, the average duration to complete a workflow. If I click on a specific workflow, I can configure the steps. Now, we saw the new hire onboarding from the employee perspective. This is what the administrator sees. So we can assign a resource, the duration, whether or not we want an email. If I go one level further at the step level, I can come in here to attach a document, a pre-filled form, a survey, even define what that email template notification is to the relevant resources. Under Setup Administrators, this is where you can limit administrative access to certain levels of the system. I can limit their access by employee types. So I could say Nicole can only see the finance department. Nicole could only see a particular cost center. I could be very granular and choose the sections of the system that she can and can't view. And you'll notice that each of these categories, employee, system reports, and so on, match up to our drop-downs at the top of the screen. Common request is I have an administrator in the system, but I don't want them to see compensation rates. I can uncheck compensation, and she would not be able to see it. Lastly, we will look at how do we get data in or out of the system. First, we'll look at imports, getting data in. This is a great section to be able to load. Implementation teams use it to load historical employee or benefits information, but it's a great way for the administrator to be able to make bulk changes to employees in the account. Let's say as a result of a performance review process, you identified 30 employees that are eligible for raises or increases in compensation. I can choose a compensation rate increase. Clicking on this link, the system will tell you how to organize your Excel file. It has the different templates and layouts needed. But when I click Import File, the system will automatically update the compensation rates for the 30 employees indicated in your Excel file. So quick and easy way to make bulk changes to the system. Under data exports, this is the ad hoc exporting tool I referenced in the overview. This is where we can build out your files that are going to carriers, those EDI files which are automatically sending your benefit election data. But it can also be used, as I mentioned, for any custom reporting needs that you have. There are these quick Excel exports that come with the system. So I could come here to just quickly export into Excel benefit census, my employee compensation rates, deductions, time off balances. But you can click on any one of these exports or create a new one to be able to define your report. This affirmative action, this is a sample report that I needed. The fields across the top, this is the report wizard walking you through the steps needed to generate a report. I'm choosing the properties on this tab. You'll notice that we have different formats. It will default to Excel compatible, but for EDI files, we can do HIPAA 834 with those additional security requirements. I name the file, and then I tell the system where to send it to. So for EDI files going to carriers, we're going to be sending those to a secured server. I'd be able to select that option and choose that authentication code. But maybe it's a report that I want emailed to myself, to my manager, to another manager. I can choose email, who is the resource to send it to, as well as the subject of that email. All of the data fields in our system can be used in reports. You can filter by different categories of data fields. I'll scroll for you so you can get a feel for the amount of data fields that we can track and you can generate reports on. It's as easy as, let's say I want the employee demographic city field to be included. I can select that field, arrow it over, and what we're seeing on the right are all of the data fields that will be included in this report. I could also filter by any of the data fields in our system. So I could run a time off balance, but filter by our part-time employees in the Los Angeles office. I could run a benefit premium export, but filter by our vision benefit. Lastly, you have the ability to schedule these reports to be generated and sent automatically. So I could say I want this affirmative action report every day on month 1. It's being emailed to me, so I'd like it in my inbox nice and early. I can choose the date range to run this report in, because maybe this is a reporting need that we only have in Q4, for example. But when I click Create Recurring Schedule, our system will then know to create and send that report according to the properties that you configured, really allowing you to avoid manual reporting and automate it within our system. And with that being said, that is an overview of our system. So with the remaining time, I'm happy to stay on the line and answer any remaining questions that come through, and I'll get to that in a minute. If you do need to leave, I appreciate your attendance today. When you leave the GoToWebinar, you will be asked or given the opportunity to complete a feedback survey on the effectiveness of this webinar. Any feedback you could provide us would be much appreciated. So if you do need to leave, thank you for your time. Have a wonderful day, and I will stay on to answer any additional questions that come through. So there is a question here related to what kind of training is provided to end users, managers, and employees, and it's a great question. So we do work with different partners who represent our product, and different partners handle that in different ways. But what's pretty standard is every end user of our system has access to a resource guide built within our system. Now, you probably noticed when I was going through different sections that there is this blue question mark icon. So if I'm an end user and I'm working here under creating exports and I have a question, I can always click on this resource guide, and it takes me to this library of information that we're constantly updating in our system to help me understand data exports. So I can come here to get, creation guide, logs. There's different formats, so HIPAA 834. These are available in every section within our system. We also, as we are developing and making enhancements to our system, we will run different product webinars where a product expert of ours in a given topic will make presentations to end users. And then again, depending on if you work with a different partner, they probably have specific training options available to you as well. All right. I don't have any other questions, so thank you again for your attendance today, and have a wonderful day.